Muhammad Ali once said, "I don't care how small the ring is. I'll fight that chump in a phone booth." I evoke a little bit of Ali every time I think about spreading the culture that I've come to learn through books, newspaper articles, magazines, conferences, documentaries, internet web searches, anything I can find, anything I can get my hands on to piece together what I think is a culture that was taken from us. And so I share in the sentiment. I'll teach anyone, anywhere, at any time. And yes, even in a phone booth, if need be. People always ask me, usually after an exhaustive conversation, "Why don't you write a book?" Sometimes I chuckle, and instead I ask them, what's one more book going to add to the wealth of knowledge and information already written down? In my opinion, it's no longer time to write. It's time to act. It's time to do. We've stayed too long on this detour of existing. We have suffered the greatest injuries and insults as we watched our essence be clawed away at, and the liberty of our natural self be outlawed, first by mob rule, then by court order, and now by popular Western European opinion. The pieces of our existence are constantly being finely ground up in this Western European grinder that is euphemistically called a melting pot. The only thing that melts away is our memory of self, our memory of kind, our memory of community, our memory of ancestry, of Mama Africa, of Alkebu-lan. Our melted essence always finds a way to congeal around the latest trend, packaged for entertainment and consumption, something to be used up until it becomes cliché and boring, and then we must find another part of our soul to bring to the marketplace. These are our constant struggles. These are the things that we face on a day-to-day basis. I believe we have to find a way to Sankofa. I believe we have to find a way to reach back to our natural essence, our natural way of seeing, our natural philosophy, our natural way of being. Things that I have come to learn can be summarized in the phrase, the Alkebu-lan narrative. We are lacking a world view through the eyes of Alkebu-lan. And in order to become whole again, we need to recover this view. So what is my part in this reawakening? Well, I read, I study, I research, and I share. I share information. I share time. I share the little bit of resources that I have with anyone who's on their journey to recover their narrative, to recover their essence. My name is Shaba Kojo, and I'm here to develop. I'm here to create. I'm here to build. I'm here as part of Kujenga.
Baptized in a Methodist church, but I grew up in a Reformed community church. While sitting down during service, I would zone out and wonder, why am I staring at a white Jesus when every last person in this church is of Alkebu-lan descent? It just never made sense. I've always yearned to learn more about my Alkebu-lan people, learn about their customs, traditions, and way of life. In my household, education is key. Embedding that knowledge is power. My children should know the truth and be equipped with how to deal with the injustices of this government. If I am uncertain of who I am or where I came from, I am doing a disservice not only to my children, but all the other children in the world. So in this podcast, you will walk with me through the unraveling of who I am, who we are, and what we will become.
My name is Jermaine. I've been derelict in my duty to my community and my ancestors. And my efforts with this podcast is a small gesture to begin to atone for my inaction and apathy. Part of me felt that if I didn't have some grand gesture or plan to contribute, then I shouldn't do anything. My ancestors were dealing with life or death struggles. What could I do that could even compare? This thought process caused a paralysis that led to my inaction. But today, my thinking has changed. I don't need to wait for some grand gesture to come from within in order to make a difference. It's time for me to do something and give of myself. I don't want to let my family, ancestors, and community down anymore. I am ready.
Unprovoked aggression and violence. Countless killings, disappearances, with no retribution. The commonplace, unequal application of laws that adversely affect people who look like me. Those are the issues highlighted in race movies where we're informed of what it was like to be Black back then. I'm glad I didn't live in those days. That couldn't have been me. I've said that, aloud and in my heart. The notion in that sentiment is that had I lived in a time of such described abuse, I wouldn't have taken it. I wouldn't have stood for it. I would have challenged the system. I would have done something to change the quality of my existence, of our existence. So, welcome to Kujenga, where the past is explored and the present evaluated, all for the preparation of a different future. A future without killings, disappearances, and unfair treatment of melanated people. One day, my grandchildren will learn of my era, of our era, and they'll be informed of what it meant to be Black today. When they question, how did we endure? What did I do when all these things were happening? I hope to have a response for them. I want to tell them that I and many others picked up where our ancestors left off in preparing a nation for them, one free of oppression. Through Kujenga, let's learn together and work together. Let's add our hands to efforts being made to realize a better existence for all melanated people. By the way, my name is Evelyn. It won't be for long. I'll tell you all about that journey on another episode.